Hip hop and the DJs. It was the beginning of the DJs. The bands at formals were no longer being used. The DJs were putting the bands out of business. WBLS in 1975 had a DJ show that came on at midnight on Friday night, Sunday mornings by Kevin Gourmet. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the people who have worked at WBLS on the air as DJ Sergio Munzabai, Ted Courier, Shep Pettibone, Lady B, Pete Rock. The In Control show, you had Clark Kent, Kevy Kev, Merlin Bob, Timmy Regisford, Naeem Johnson, and present right now, please, fellas, introduce yourself.
Oh, what's up? Chuck Chillout in the building. Represent the Boogie Down Bronx.
It's Marley Marl. We in the building. We here, 45, y'all.
Cool DJ Red Alert right here, bro, y'all.
This is Anthony. I go by Luck in the hip-hop community, son of Mr. Magic.
And I'm Tyrone Williams, go by the name of Fly Ty, and I produce the Rap Attack.
It was 1982. 98.7 Kiss FM had become a situation for the marketplace. Although they had yet to topple WBLS, they were gaining the numbers and they were gaining with younger listeners. WBLS had been in the market as WBLS since 1972 and had garnered a major part of the marketplace by being #1 general market radio station. Crystal, who was the daughter of the music director Mae James at the time, was a young person who said to Frankie that folks were listening to 98.7 Kiss FM and that there was a guy on a station, a pay station called WHBI, Mr. Magic, that they should put on WBLS, which Frankie got very interested in knowing who this Mr. Magic was and wanted to have a meeting with him because he had heard a lot about him. After hearing that from Crystal James and talking to other people, wanted to have a meeting with him. I come to meet with Frankie because I was working at KISS at the time, but I was looking for another opportunity. And he asked me about him, and I told him what he was, and he reached out and he found him. And thus was the beginning of rap on WBLS on Friday and Saturday nights. It started the Rap Attack. And this was before Red Alert and Chuck was even on 98.7 Kiss FM, or before Kiss FM was seriously trying to play rap records. So they kind of got the lead at WBLS on the rap show. And later on in 1983, Red Alert, it was Jazzy J. Red Alert replaced Jazzy J. A month after came Chuck Chillout. Here sitting with us is Tyrone Williams, who was a part of WBLS, WLIB. Started as an intern at WLIB. And Ty, if you want to fill us in with what happened after your connection with Mr. Magic and the Rap Attack.
Well, after the connection started, really Frankie Crocker made the connection. Frankie Crocker was our program director. Though in those days, maybe even now, you had to have an FCC license to be on the radio. At least that's what they said. And I had an FCC license. Magic didn't. Mine was an engineering license, and the other engineers didn't want Magic to be on the radio under their license, mainly because rap they couldn't see it, and they looked at it like a street thing. But he worked under my license, and that's how we all got together, along with Marley Marl.
Now, my question is, with Magic playing rhymes on the radio, when did Marley join the team?
Bob Lee. Bob Lee brought Marley.
Okay.
Bob Lee, Dr. Bob Lee. Marley was rolling with him because they're both from Queensbridge.
Right.
And Magic's DJ was going to be Junebug from the FIFA.
Yeah, wow.
And Junebug died.
Junebug was found dead. In the Bronx.
In the Bronx, right. And Magic needed a DJ.
Marley, you want to explain how that was becoming a part of the Mr. Magic Rap Attack on WBLS?
Yeah, me and Bob Lee, we was out at a place, and Mr. Magic used to come with Mike C and others. They used to come, when we was at jams, say, hey, the party's here now, the party's here. So me and Magic, we didn't really get along at first. Because
from what I remember, that went on for a long time.
We didn't really tolerate it. Yeah, we didn't get along at first. So he first asked me, he said, yo, you want to be on my radio show? I'm like, nah.
They told him no?
First time I was like, nah, man, I ain't gonna be on your show, whatever. So he saw me again. He said, yo, man, got 5 million listeners, so we on Saturday, Friday night, you need to
That's
come
when the
up
numbers
there."
were starting to
And
happen
the
now.
numbers starting to pop. I was like, okay, I'll go up there. Matter of fact, I'll let you play some of my mixes. That's how it all started. So he played my Buffalo Gal remix. When I went up to the radio station, he wanted to grab a record and threw it on. I said, man, that don't mix with that. He said, what you mean? So I looked through the bins, found a record that mixed, pitched it up. I wasn't able to touch the board, so he brought the fader up. It was like a seamless mix. He's like, yo, man, what you do on the weekends? I said, yo, I'm a DJ at Pegasus. So, you know, I'm working over
Pegasus
there.
was a club that was on 2nd Avenue
Right.
up in the 60s, as a matter of fact.
Right. So how much they pay you? I told him how much. He said, yo, I'll double that if you come here every weekend. I was like,
The money talked. The money spoke.
but I had to also deal with Mr. Magic because we wasn't really getting along at first. And we then after a few weeks we worked together and it became seamless. It became like he thought of something, I could just do it. As he was talking, I would tailor the drops and the music and the instrumentals around his
And you made
vocals and made everything smoothed out.
Right.
And that was my contribution to the Rap Attack at that point.
I always say about you that that Marley operated more, although you DJ'd, I always saw you as not a DJ in the typical sense of a DJ. Not that you couldn't play a club or whatever, but I always saw you more of a producer who DJ'd. Because you had an uncanny way of being able to size the situation up, no matter who you were working with, and frame it. You know what I'm saying? Even with your music, like the records you made, all those cold chilling records early in the day that Mayor Koch was the executive producer on,
Right.
because he was made at the crib.
Queensbridge.
That you had a way of framing these guys, even though they would bring you different pieces, and even some songs that other people may have used, but you made it differently because you heard your vision was different. If you want to equate vision with sound,
Let me say this. More than a producer, to me, Marley was an engineer that DJ'd.
Right.
Marley's the first person, never the only person I ever knew. When you go to the store and buy some equipment, sound equipment, he would ask for the schematics.
yeah, exactly. But that's my point as a producer engineer. I'm saying the same
When
thing.
Marley would buy a piece of equipment, he would take the cabinet off, plug it in, and let's see what lights up.
Right.
He did the same thing with that board at WBLS. He unscrewed it, lifted it up, and he would make our sound totally different than the rest of the station because he would pan certain sounds on the left, certain to the right. All right. That's why Magic started calling him the engineer all-star. That's
right.
Because of his the way he could just take things and make like a mad scientist. And I want you to understand something. Magic and I are in our 20s. So Marley's a teenager. All right, we're kids, so he's like a baby. Everything. Like I said, everything he did was ingenious to me. He could just look at something and say, "Do it this way," and that's why Marley had that.
Well, he understood. I would say that we're talking about you like you're not here, but you understood sound. You understood the quality of the sound and what didn't sound right when it is something else. Very different from what's going on now in terms of when you hear songs now. A lot of stuff is going on in those records that don't fit, but it fits because this is what folks are hearing.
Right.
But you listen from a different perspective. Just in what you said, how you produced the Mr. Magic Rap Attack.
Well, the overall sound of Mr. Magic's show changed because now it was smoother. Now he's talking over the instrumentals. Now, as soon as he was stopped talking, bam, I hit him with the vocals. And Magic would love that. He would love to sit in Crockett's chair and flick that switch. And know the instrumental was coming to drop. After the drop would come, Magic is here. Then he'd talk, and I throw on the instrumental. Then as soon as he finished, bah, I hit the vocal. He's like, ooh, that was tight. Ooh.
Right.
So the whole dynamic of the show changed. And, we was mixing on beat.
Yeah.
And we wasn't always scratching. It was always like a smooth blend.
Right, because the way you scratch, you use the scratch as an instrument.
Right.
Yeah, your scratch was a guitar. Your scratch was the drum. The way you cut was an instrument. You made that like another instrument in the thing. He wasn't just scratching.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So the whole dynamic of his show changed, and it was like a smoother ride.
So now, hold on. Now we're doing things alien to WBLS. They had one direction. We're not going that direction. Frankie Crocker tells us we can't have Marley.
Oh yeah.
All right, we can't have it. He doesn't work at the station.
He don't have a license.
Right, he can't be here. So Magic, we were on Friday and Saturday, so Magic just tells Marley, well, don't come tomorrow. And then let them see you not here, then you come Saturday. Marley comes in Saturday. Frankie Crocker, who never came to the studio, ever,
Showed up on Saturday.
showed up, and they had a monitor in the studio. You can see who gets off the elevator.
Right.
And Crocker's getting off the elevator. And when he gets off, back in the day, they had commercials on what they call cars.
Yeah.
These big 8-track looking tapes. And I'm pulling the cars for the commercial, and we used to call him Chief. Chief comes in, hey, Ty, just came to see how you guys are doing since I told you couldn't have Marley. And he looking in there, Marley's.
Wow.
And now, for us to have Marley, man, Magic had to sit in his chair in his studio.
So he really didn't.
And it was a
like that.
round table just like
It's
this.
a big, what would you call that? What do you call it?
The cockpit.
Yeah.
And Magic is leaning back and Crocker's chair with his feet on the table and clicking the switches. And when Crocker opens the
Living
door,
a good life.
Magic just go, "What's up, Chief?"
He was just straight busted.
Right? But we never panicked. We didn't panic. We just
Right.
kept it moving.
Right.
We just kept working.
Right.
And he left, and we had to come in Monday, and he said, "I told you guys we couldn't have him." So we're trying to explain,
The essence of the show.
right, and
what's
how a
necessary.
live mixer, how it makes the show better.
Right.
He didn't want to hear that.
I got fired about 3 times.
He said what he said. He said what he said, but he said that to Magic.
Right.
And Magic said what he said, and you know Magic said like Magic. He cursed Frankie Crocker out in his office.
Right.
And I never could see what he said. He looked at me and Magic, he said, "I've been looking for the two of you for so long. Somebody could think for themselves. If you think that he'll enhance the show that much, when you're willing to sacrifice your job, you can have him."
That's how Crocker worked. You had to challenge him.
You can have him.
You had to challenge him and be right.
Right, and from that point, things just got better. All right. Now, I was telling you earlier about how Marley used to pan the sounds and make the sound,
Okay.
give them more bottom and tweak the highs. And then as the engineer, I used to bring the transmitter up. You're only supposed to go from Bridgeport to New Brunswick.
These guys are so illegal.
And I would go from Hartford to Philly. And one night the chief engineer comes in, Paul Sanchez.
Yeah.
How are you guys getting that sound? The rest of the station never sounds
The
like
station
that.
was flat, and then they had the reverb on stage.
Right. But things like that, all right, us taking chances like that made them respect us more.
And you know what, too? Paul Sanchez, since we was the first actual live DJs on the radio, so
That's right.
we was all over the place. Our levels was up and down. The drops was loud. So he was an engineer's engineer.
That's right. He comes up with these boxes that really, the limiters and processors
Right.
that he makes, and he had one.
Right.
on-
So
on
he
the
made
station.
a great box. By working with us, he created something to keep the levels correct when the live DJ was on.
That's right.
And that box became so famous that he made millions off of that.
Made millions off the box.
It was called, it's an Omni box.
Something that's
It was
called,
an
yeah.
Omni box that he made that every radio station, even Kiss bought it after a while.
Everybody had.
Every radio station that had a live
radio
DJ on
yeah.
had to buy Paul Sanchez's
Everybody
box.
had it.
And he made millions off of that by working with us. And we never asked for PC. But by him working with us and seeing what we was doing, that was something yet to come in radio. The live DJ with the loud, because the drops is always loud.
of course,
the music
right.
is here.
Right.
You cutting, you scratching. It was back in the day. If I would throw something on loud, the whole station would go,
Wow.
and then come back up the sound.
And engineer, I think as an engineer, he looked at us differently. He looked at us with interest.
The thing about Paul Sanchez loved everybody or anybody who was technically aware. And I'm sure that he saw what you were able to do. It was far superior to what any of us were able to do at the time. So
Plus, I'm a nerd. When any station I work at, I'm going to engineering.
Right,
I'm getting
first.
cool with everybody.
Going
I'm getting cool with the
engineering
nerds.
Right.
Because they keep the station on the air. When you need something done, go to them. They get it done.
Chuck, let me ask you, being someone that wasn't on the radio yet, and you were DJing, how was it to hear a show like Mr. Magic's Rap Attack on the radio instead of just on a tape or something for the first time? How was that? What
Yeah,
was that
I
like?
was like, it's a good move. You know what I mean? Hearing rap records spinning, it was something that was coming up in the street. Everybody was playing and it was listening to them on the weekends. So it was definitely a plus.
Did that have you amped being
yeah.
a DJ?
Yeah.
What it made you want to be on the radio, or you hadn't even thought about being
Well,
on the radio
for me,
at the
listening
time?
to the radio, when I listening from KTU, listening to G. Keith and Paco and them guys, I always said I wanted to do radio.
You went to radio school.
Yeah, I went to ATS,
Right.
Sue Simmons.
All of us went to ATS. I went to
with Sue
ATS.
Simmons. Yeah. So I always wanted to do it from back then. You know what I mean? And like I said, when I heard the rap records, I was like, oh shit.
We're talking about Magic, the WBLS 45, Chuck Chillout, Red Alert, being from Uptown.
Yes.
And all that was going on. Although Magic was from Brooklyn, he claimed the Bronx hard body. You hearing this on the radio for the first time now, and the words getting around. We had Magic on WHBI, and I did a thing at Queens College with Magic on the panel. I was at WNJR AM station, and I was operations manager there. And the panel that we were on at the time at the college level, college kids wasn't really with hip hop 100% yet. They still were into the funk and the jazz, up-tempo jazz, stuff like that. We're talking 82, 80, talking 80, 81, before he even came here. So there was a lot of opposition, a lot of pushback with the rap records. But for you being Zulu Nation in the Bronx, performing your craft, how did it feel to hear this on WBLS now?
It felt like we had arrived because, before that got on radio, our signals was cassette tapes floating around all throughout the tri-state area, So here it is now. We actually get somebody to go ahead and orchestrate and play these, not only just rap records, but also sounds of hip-hop. It felt like, oh, man, we always felt like we made it.
Right.
Even though it was on the independent station, but it looked like we had to move on up. And that's the way we took it in consideration.
But you had Magical HBI.
Right.
That was the beginning of like, yo, what's going on at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Correct.
Then you had the Zulu Beat
That's
Cat.
right.
And then the Rebel come over here with Islam, you know what I mean? That's,
Jerry Blood Rock.
Jerry Blood Rock and all them dudes.
You had World Famous Supreme Team. You had
Supreme
Jerry
Team.
Blood Rock.
Right.
You had
So this is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Zulu Beach came a little after.
Right.
We was coming on right behind Gail Bailey at the time.
Gil Bell,
yeah, the girls.
Gil Bell.
And a lot of people did not know at that time that
Carol
WHBI was in the basement of a tenement building
Right.
that was over there off of Riverside Drive, 80 Riverside Drive.
Right.
So, like I say, it just made us feel so good.
Yeah, but it just hearing it at 2 o'clock in the morning, it was like, yo, and then you was glued to the radio.
It was something special about 2 a.m. hip hop back
Sure
in the
was.
day.
Sure was.
I mean, because all day you was listening to the radio, you wasn't hearing this music
At all.
At all.
Then after the stroke of midnight,
You made an
it
appointment.
turned on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Right.
Everybody was renting time on HBI. It was something special.
And it went on like that for a long
Right.
time, even way after it was on terrestrial commercial radio.
Because we went back.
Right. Well, and this is where I'm going now. Although the show did well for WBLS, Rap Attack did well for WBLS,
Right.
Frankie Crocker leaves in '84. And when Frankie leaves, the show is disbanded. And I run into you guys now. I'm in Philadelphia.
Right.
You guys are in Philly. Magic has a show also in Baltimore.
And Philly, we went to
he was
DS
at-
for a minute.
yeah, you was at DAS, but Magic had the show in Baltimore.
Right.
And then you also had the show at WDS where we ran into each other
Right.
again. And you and Butterball put you on in
Yes.
that was like the Frankie Crocker of Philadelphia.
Right.
Put you guys on DAS. And I have this hat on for one reason. Not that the Mets are doing that good now, but the '86 Mets got the championship that
Right.
year. And I came back to New York to come to 98.7 KISS FM, where I teamed up with Red and Chuck. They were there already.
You met us
And-
in Philly and you told us, you said, I'm going to New York. I'm
See,
working
you know,
in New
he
York.
don't,
And
he
then-
don't, he
and
don't
then-
tell the
and
real
then we-
story of what he did.
And
You know what I mean?
and
You see how he grabbing me, right?
yeah, because
see
we
him
do-
grabbing me, right?
It's the BLS story.
Okay.
And then we linked up again in '86 here at WBLS because you guys got back on in 1985. Right. Talk about how that happened with BK Kirkland, who's not a
Oh,
program.
well, I want to start a little bit before that.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay. Now, 84 August, we killed it. We got double-digit numbers, so we hire a high-powered attorney to negotiate our deal, Bill Kraslovsky.
Oh, that's what happened.
Bill Kraslovsky.
Wow.
All right.
Him.
Yes.
And we get there to the meeting with BLS. I won't mention names. And we got great
Charles
news.
Warfield was the general manager at the time. And
We
Charles
got-
was a very hard negotiator.
We
Very
got
decent man.
great news for you guys. Magic gonna put you on every day. And Ty, you want to do news anyway. So we're going to give you a sports talk show on LIB. And we're going to put Marley on. I don't know if Mary Thomas was there, but we're going to do this noontime mix. We got a new format we're going to do called Quiet Storm. And I said, Quiet Storm? I said, that's not new. I went to Howard. Melvin Lindsay started there. We're going to do it here. And Magic, we want you to do that. Magic says, that sounds more like for Von Harper than me. All right. Well, the real deal is the majors don't know what to do with this rap thing. And Magic, if you stop playing it, kids will believe it's over. Magic says, well, what about Curtis Blow? What about Houdini? What about the Fat Boys? Because that was Juice Crew at the time.
Right.
So the idea, the thinking was we're gonna kill it by putting you on the Quiet Storm.
Right.
Wow,
Right.
Got it.
By fulfilling our dream.
Right.
Basically, our dream is to be on radio. But then Marley said, "What about Chuck and Kurt and Chuck and Red?" And they said, "Well, we got to deal with Barry. If you go, they're gonna get rid of them too."
Word.
Wow.
Magic says, "If that's the case, I quit." Now, understand this. Now, he looks at me and Marley says, "Let's go." Now, in the back of our head, we hearing him. But news all day, but we leave and we go back to HBI. Right. We make so much noise, all right, that they can't make the move that they want to make. And we attach ourselves to KISS. Because every party we have, if you got a KISS card, you get in free. That's how we do things, you know. But it was a rap was just new to the powers that be, and they wanted to get rid of it. They looked at it like it was some gutter thing, like doo-wop of the 50s.
Well, what happened too? WBLS being the first black-owned FM station in the market, Inner City Broadcasting being the first black owners in the New York City market, numero uno in the world.
Right.
They had a hard time trying to sell airtime in the beginning because, you know, when I was hanging out at WWRL in the 70s, you would see commercials and you would hear the salespeople say that Macy's won't buy time with us because Macy's says black people don't shop there. Or the car dealers wouldn't buy airtime on black stations because they said we didn't buy cars, which was so, I mean, there was new cars all over the place.
Right.
All in the hood.
Airlines at the time, I mean, we don't get a lot of airline commercials now, but airlines at the time didn't want to buy that airtime. And they had, we touched on this last week with Ken Webb and Vi Higginson and a few others, that they had to do Don't Hate Us Because We're Black campaign and in order to get people to buy into what WBLS was. So for the inner city management, the idea of having rap records on the radio frightened them because it gave them the feeling that they were going back in
Like
time.
it was like being too rugged.
It was
in
being
the
too
sense.
rugged that it was going
So
to be
they hadn't wanted to come across in a
repressive move.
sophisticated
So
type of
they were in
way.
a quagmire. They knew it was relative in the streets, and I think Charles Warfield understood that.
I remember the late Betty Shabazz and Lamar Renee.
Yes.
They were always on me, always on us. We can do better. Then they meant do better by meaning drop this rap stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We can do better than this. We can bring it up. People are following us. We can uplift the kids by meaning stop playing the rap. Okay. So it was it was so deep. It was deeper than the music.
It was socio-economical.
Exactly.
It was socio-economical. The worry was that if we open up the door to this, then we're going to run all our listeners to the pop stations, and all the advertisers will go to the pop stations, and we will be sitting here with
It's
nothing.
a chess game.
It's a chess game, and it's all about vision.
As luck would have it, it had the opposite effect.
And we'll be back with that in a minute. WBLS 45. And Ty, you were saying as luck would have it, we're talking about now WBLS Rap Attack 1984 and going forward. And we've got a little something to play for you in a minute of the original Rap Attack. As you said, as luck would have it.
As luck would have it, you know, we had the opposite effect as far as sales was concerned.
Meaning what?
Meaning, we start getting the white advertisers on rap that they weren't getting on the rest of the
With the
station.
rest of the format.
Because we start getting all kinds of listeners. Because if you were white or black and like rap, there was only one place to
White,
listen
black,
to.
Hispanic,
Then
whatever.
you had to listen. So
right.
all those people started calling in, and they could feel it. and then the advertisers were feeling their constituents, and they want to advertise on the Rap Attack. So Magic started getting advertisers,
A lot of endorsements.
a lot of endorsements that weren't coming to the station before. All right. For a minute, he had a different kind of deal in people. He had percentage of advertising that he brought in. That's why everywhere Magic went. If it was a restaurant, if your radio station was on some other station, he would right away get you to change it. Quick story. We're on a plane. All right. A plane going wherever. Okay. And they're playing their movie, Magic Starts Breaking. About, we don't want to see this movie, we want to see Left Me Lonely by MC Shane. And he makes the Delta airline play Left Me Lonely over and over. But that's how Magic was. He was persistent.
Definitely.
All right. He was going to keep it up. And with that and with the whole Red and Chuck, the Kiss aspect of it, it grew and it blew. The happiest person I saw when Red got hired was Magic. Because in his mind, he made Kiss put a rap show on. And the first thing he said to me was...
That was the whole thing Barry wanted to do. When we met him in the Roxy's, we was together.
Right.
And he said to me, Red, I want to put this on
And that would have never happened had Magic had not
WBLS.
been available.
Right, but Magic says to me, guess what? He from the Bronx. So that, he like you said, he repped the Bronx hard. But I wanted to say something quickly about the whole battle thing. As time went on, Magic said, why didn't I let them talk? Why didn't I let them talk? Why didn't I let them talk? So Magic wanted to talk for Red, but he couldn't do it favorably. So he started talking about whatever.
Red Dirt, Duck
But in his next day, Magic to me was real smart. He gonna make it so that the whole city is listening to nothing but
He started first with my cousin Jazzy.
Okay.
Right.
Jazzy Jerk.
I had to come back.
Right.
Jazz
But the whole thing was to get rap to that. The enemy was the other music.
And then we call him Marley Moo and Madam
But the whole point was to make people listen to both shows,
that
both
was
stations,
right.
to listen to rap,
Right.
no matter what.
Right.
The competition was other music, not rap.
Right.
So either you're gonna listen to Kiss rap or BLS rap, and you're gonna pick a side, but you're not gonna pay attention to whatever anybody else doing. That's right.
Let's take a listen to the Mr. Magic Show.
It's magic. It's 107.5 WBLS. Good evening, super listeners. How you doing tonight, all you fly guys? And of course, all you fly young ladies. I'd like to welcome you to the world famous Mr. Magic Rap Attack. And of course, I am Sir Juice, and I will be your host for the next 3 hours on 107.5 WBLS.
Oh my God, I think I'm having a rap attack.
Really an amazing man. This is Lucky, growing up with Mr. Magic as your dad. That had to be a very enjoyable and enlightening experience.
Most definitely. I seen a lot at a very young age. Probably some things I shouldn't, but it was all good. Sitting here, I've learned some new stuff from you guys, which is interesting. But the one thing, as I reflect back about my dad, Mr. Magic, he at a very young age found his passion, and he knew what he wanted to do, and he chased that dream. And when he was behind the microphone, as I look back now, I mean, he was happy. Right. And I take solace in hearing these stories and knowing that he found his passion and he did what he loved to do.
I joined the company after leaving 98.7 KISS FM in May of '86. And I came here as assistant program director, music director, to work with you guys. And it was an enlightening experience because we, on the weekends, the rap was really what was going on the station. And leaving KISS at the time, I hated to leave Marley and Red, but it was an opportunity.
Chuck and Red.
Chuck and Red, it was an opportunity I had to take, and coming to BLS was a great opportunity. To come here, then not to have any rap playing during the week. And I started pushing for that because still the radio wasn't playing rap during the week unless it was after 3 in the afternoon. I think Kiss was doing after 3 or 4 in the afternoon with Carol.
Right.
Yes.
And then in the evenings, so I was working the evenings for a minute before 10 o'clock, and they slowed it down.
Right.
And BLS wasn't doing it until after 6 with Sergio Dean, because
Right.
we had that nighttime category. And we were in situations where they wanted us to play the instrumental of the song
Right.
during the week and wait till the weekend to play. There's no way I'm putting that in at all. We're not going to play it at all. But because of what you guys were doing collectively, the vocals were important enough to have to be played. So it made it easy to push that whole vibe to get the rap records on the station. And we eventually got a chance to start playing it at 3 in the afternoon instead of waiting until 6 o'clock in the evening to make that happen. For you guys, how did it feel to now have the music playing a little earlier in the day and not necessarily waiting for the weekend to play?
Well, here it is. When we saw that how popular that certain songs was being played, I'm talking about within like the early to mid 80s when you had the Run DMC, the Houdinis, and Fat Boys, the main three at the time that being played during the daytime part. I felt like, that keep on rising more, the cream of the crop, because, you have to wait usually till past 6 o'clock, but then again, these records were so dominant that it had to be played. You couldn't ignore it at the time.
If you remember a lot of those records, man, they broke out of the mix shows.
Sure they did.
And like, I remember one time I had the tape of Pee Wee Herman, and Barry came in the room, "What you doing? Why you playing that?" And then I was like, "Yo, this is the biggest record there is, the Pee Wee Dance."
Right.
I don't know, Chuck. I don't know. So the next Monday, he calls my house. "Yo, what was that song you played?" Because they keep calling. That's why I said, "It's Pee Wee Dance" by Joe Skillo.
Right.
And he said to me, "I will never bother you again about another record."
Wow. And that was part of why I wanted to move these songs into the regular.
Same thing with Public Enemy too. Same thing.
That's why I wanted to move a lot of those records into the regular rotation when I got to BLS. I tried to play Public Enemy record without a pause, but they made me take that off. I think it was I was really pushing the envelope too much.
I'm glad you mentioned Public Enemy.
I was really pushing it a little too hard.
Because-
But what it was to take some of those songs that were already starting to develop and let them happen, so it freed up the weekends for more music. We even did the same thing at Kiss at the time to kind of move those songs that were testing well for us from the weekends and move them into the regular rotation, because at the time it was about the ballad and the rap records, to the Barge records and all of those songs, the Prince records, Ready for the World,
Because
that
a
were
lot
young
of
records.
them songs me and him were playing.
Yeah.
Tony would bring us in the room, remember?
And he'd go through it.
What's happening, remember? He said,
That's
get
what
up
we
there.
couldn't do. We couldn't play straight up rap music all throughout our show when we first started. We had to integrate the R&B and some dance, the hip hop sound and the rap records and interject all together.
We had to play stuff like Cool in the Game, Joyce Sims, along with
If I remember
My man
clearly,
from the system.
Yeah.
I remember clearly one night me and Mr. Magic was on the radio when we broke a Public Enemy record, and at the end of the record he says, "No more music from the suckers," and I was like,
Magic said no more music for the suckers, talking about
Public Enemy, and I was like,
Chuck
that
still brings that.
I know that song was
Now,
so hot. Why
let me
did he
tell you
say
something. I'll tell
that?
you
Why
what
did
he
he
said.
bring the
Still
heat?
brings
I'm gonna tell you why
It
he
happened
said.
from Baltimore.
No, Russell came to us. Magic, you got to play this. Magic said, "If I play it, ain't no guarantee BLS gonna play it, cause they don't play rap records in the day around here. All right, but Kiss might. But you gonna have to do something so they don't like what I do." And Magic to me was always ahead of the game in how he promoted stuff. He could do something unfavorable and make it favorable. All right, so he broke that record so that everybody would hear about it. All right, and Public Enemy would have a shot, cause he knew playing it, BLS ain't jumping on it. They only playing rap when I'm on. I saw him do a lot of stuff like that.
But they had a thing. What happened in Baltimore with Magic?
When he smacked Flavor, he smacked Flavor.
Flavor had the hat on. He smacked the hat on.
Magic smacked him. He smacked Rakim. He smacked a lot of people.
He smacked Big Daddy Kane.
He smacked with Daddy
But
Kane.
y'all remember the first Public Enemy record was Public Enemy #1. That's the one. with
Now the one he did it was by Uzi Waves a Ton.
Okay, but I'm talking about the record that was really getting a little traction back then. I remember.
Right.
Was Public Enemy #1
right.
with the Blow Your Head sample.
Right.
But the one, because Chuck brought me the acetate of Rebel Without a Pause, that was the one that took him out of here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because before he got downstairs, I played the record.
on.
It was on.
Magic took
I got an acetate of Rebel Without a
What I want to say about Magic, he took a lot of slings and arrows
Oh, absolutely.
to move rap forward.
He shot a lot of slings.
He shot a number. But listen, Magic.
He and I went through it for a bunch of
we
years.
know Magic and Budweiser.
Oh, no doubt. But that's a whole other
Magic,
thing.
you know, but he was, you know, he was smooth on the radio. And one thing I will say about him, he played your joint. Whoever you were, he was gonna play it. South Bronx was an issue. Magic said, I'm not gonna be the one not playing South Bronx.
But y'all
Right?
really didn't play it though.
Yeah, we did.
No, y'all didn't.
Yeah, we
I
did.
had to deal with what's his name.
Now we may kill that noise to go along with it.
Yeah,
but we
y'all,
played it.
Y'all played at it. Y'all didn't really play it like Kiss was playing it.
Nah, not
Kiss
like
was
it.
wearing it out,
Right.
and I had to deal with the kid KG came up and threatened me because we didn't have it on the playlist, and I told him I couldn't play it. because it was KG,
Rest in peace, heavyset guy.
heavyset kid from uptown. You know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about?
know what you're talking about.
The guard kid.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, and so it's like, nah, you couldn't do it because it was talking about the team that was over here. We had South Bronx and everything else. So
It's about Poet.
We had, no, not Poet.
Not Poet?
No, big kid, KG.
Oh, it wasn't around yet.
The family had the fake nuns in the city.
Oh, the Grants.
The LeGrands.
Oh, from Brooklyn.
Right. And you had the bridge that was popping. So I was like, I can't play it. The guy couldn't understand why I couldn't play it. I said, well, bro, it's not gonna go on. And so he was calling because you want to call. I said, I can call people too.
Another thing that spread hip hop was the advent of Roxanne Shante. Because this is at the time we got to go back to HBI. We paying to be on the radio, and basically we struggling. All right. UTFO, Magic didn't like the A side, he liked the B side. He plays it, whatever. Roxanne. They promised to do a free show for us so we can make some money. Steve Salem tells me pick a date and a place. I do it. I picked the date, and I picked Broadway International because I had a relationship with Kathy up there. I called Steve. Steve, I will never forget. He said,
Steve Giuliani?
Steve Salem.
Steve Salem.
Rest in peace.
Steve, rest in peace. Steve Salem says, we ain't got to do no show for you. Kiss just added our record. Wow. Word. And I'm like, now remember, this is coming to Christmas. We ain't got no money.
So you was counting on it.
Counting on it. I come back to the station
That's
that night.
radio business people.
I come back to the station that night because I got to tell Magic and Marl. They got smiles on their faces. We gonna get some money for Christmas. I tell them they're not doing the show. And Magic, what happened? You know, anyway, it doesn't happen. So we take Marley home. We're in front of his building, talking about it loudly. This little girl walks up and says, "Why don't you let me make a tape dissing them?" And my attitude was, "Go away, little girl. We got bigger problems." The next day, Marley come to the station. Next night, you know that little girl? She made this song here, this tape.
This was before '84.
This is 84.
Yeah.
The end of '84, around November.
Right.
All right. He puts it on. Well, my name is Roxanne. Don't you know? We play it. Okay. Now at the same time, Dana Goodman, co-owner of Pop Art Records.
We were in Philadelphia. He was in Philly. We was at the hotel room. In your hotel room.
He gets us a job at WDAS.
Right.
We play that tape. He comes running to the station. What is that, John? That's his core records, John's. What is that, John?
Philadelphia.
That's Philadelphia.
That's Philadelphia,
What is
baby.
that, John, you playing there? What label is that on? Marley said, it's not a label, it's a tape I made. No label has that? Stay right here. He comes back with his brother
We go
Jamal.
out, we get Lawrence. We go to West Philly. We get
Right.
Lawrence. Bring Lawrence back to the hotel.
Right.
And you play the cassette. Now they want to do the paperwork.
Now check this out. The cassette that they made the record, the tape
Was our air check.
was our
the
air
air
check.
check.
That's why it starts out with
my goodness.
It starts out with world premiere.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness.
Right.
They took the air check
And made a record.
and pressed it without asking us nothing.
That Saturday before I came back, I was coming back and forth to New York at the time. We went down to the studio on Broad Street and ran it and edited the front and the back off a little bit so it can fade right, and then you got a little bit of the front with Magic on it, and then we kind of enhanced it a little bit, and that was the record that when I started at Kiss, I brought that back to Kiss, and we put that in with the whole pile of Roxanne records. It must have been about 5 or 6 Roxanne type records.
yeah.
So we did like the Roxanne mix that had like 4 or 5 songs, had the engineer edit all that stuff together, and that's what started to play.
But they make the record, and I'm like, I don't know this little girl. I didn't talk to her mother, nothing. All right. So we talked to her. Somehow she said,
Pop Art Records.
Pop Art Records. If Tyrone manages, okay, cool, I'll do it. I'll go with it. Our advance was $750.
The music business,
For
baby.
all four of us. Me, Magic, Marley, and Shantae. It's Christmas Eve. We got to go to Philadelphia and get this check. Me, Marley, and Magic. It's a snowstorm. Hold up. When we get down there, we get down like 5 after 3. The banks are closed. We got a check. They want to take us to eat. We don't want to eat nothing. We need this money. So about 3:30, we just jump up from the restaurant. We're going. And we tried to make it back to New York. We had a little account. Wasn't no money in it. But it was this chemical bank then on 46 and Madison. And we get back, it's like 7:15 p.m. We go over there. We see the bank manager. We tap on the window. He sees us. He opens the door. We give him the check. He comes. He says, "Well, you don't have any money in your account." And I guess he saw the looks on our faces. He said, "It's Christmas Eve. I'm gonna cash it for you." Right. We took $375. Me, Magic, and Marley, and gave Shantae the other $375. We take $125 each and head to 125th Street to go shopping for our girls. We get
$25 went a long way back.
Hold up. Some guys selling 3 hot leathers. Hot meaning stolen.
With a little fur on it.
With a little fur on it. And they all fit, that's our girl, $50 each. We buy a leather jacket for each one of our girls, some flowers, and we in there. And we each go on with these leathers, so we heroes for the moment. But that's how it started for us. But that record was like crack. It hit, it was everywhere. Yeah, so now
I didn't get a dime either. Not that I was looking for anything.
Magic was nominated for Air Personality of the Year that year, which helped us tremendously also. Because the other nominees were Frankie, Don Imus, Howard Stern, Donnie Simpson, and Tom Joyner. Mm-hmm. So whenever a promoter would call, and the promoters were always young because the experienced promoters still didn't want rap. So I would say to the promoter, listen, you got to get this on the local radio station. Because our mind is not in the record business. Our mind's on radio.
Still is radio guys.
All right. And it was, I don't know if we could do, well, tell them we got Mr. Magic. So R&R magazine was like the radio Bible. And they would have
Radio and Records.
Radio and Records, who were the nominees. So they would say, oh, you got Mr. Magic from New York. When we get there, it would be the same every time we got there. Well, guys, we don't know how they do it in New York. Either the general manager or the owner would be there. We don't know how they do it in New York, but here you've got to have an FCC license. Pow! And we would go on the radio, and it would be something they had never heard. And they would tell whoever the jock was on, go on.
What people don't realize about that time around the country, not even in Atlanta. Like Atlanta didn't have a full-fledged rap show that was on during the evening or doing early evening in that year. I remember being in Chicago when I was working for Cold Chillin' in 91, being in Chicago, and there was no rap show on in the evening. The rap show didn't come on until 2 or 3 in the morning in 1991. So we're talking about
They were a little behind.
how New York was so far ahead. New York, Philadelphia, even D.C. was still go-go. D.C. wasn't really rap heavy yet. Yeah, like New York and Philadelphia were probably two of the main hubs. New York was really ahead of the game. And even though the music was resonating like it was in New York, the radio was still afraid to put it on full blast.
Right.
Real quick, we're going to go back and take a listen to Red Alert on the legendary 98.7 KISS FM. Why? Because it's very important to realize the kind of friendly competition that happened between the two stations from Smack the Lipstick Off Your Radio, and WBLS was in the class by itself. We would say that's because everybody else graduated. So, we had a whole little back and forth. Well, let's take a listen to Red Alert on 98.7 KISS FM. I believe the year is 1986. This is WBLS 45.
98.7 KISS with DJ Red Alert.
Proud to say WBLS is still strong 45 years later. We take a listen now to where we were in hip-hop in the New York City market. Marley, Marl, Mr. Magic. We just heard Red Alert. Chuck, how did it feel being on the radio finally after hearing Mr. Magic in 1982 with the hip hop show on the radio. Now you on a couple of months after Red Alert, a month or so after Red Alert. Now you've got a show on the radio.
No, it felt good, man, because the street was listening to us. It was going between me, Red, and Marley on Friday and Saturday. You know, it felt good, man. If you wasn't pumping in those cars, then you was whack.
Right.
And it was like certain songs that that played, that broke, and you heard them the next day because people made copies of them. But it was funny. I remember one time me and Red was in Jacksonville, Florida. One time we was walking down the street, dude was playing a mix, and we said, "Yo, where you got that from?" He said, "You don't need to know, man. You don't know nothing about this." So he told me and him, but it was one of our mixes.
At the times, the cassettes were the internet.
Oh yeah,
Cassettes was actually the internet.
But those things, all of our mixes went all around the world.
And here's what was the beauty in it all. Like I always joke with new program directors that we've worked for, and when we came to Hot 97 Bread, Steve Smith, bless him, he's running Cox Broadcasting now, would run in whenever you played Blinded Me with Science by Thomas Dolby. And he was, "Oh my God, that's not hip hop." I said, "Steve, it's all hip hop." I said there were about 8 or 9 rap records out in the beginning of the game. Most of them, in Marley's case, Marley was making them. But you had the Trans Europe Express, you had the Madonna records that were happening, Buffalo Girls and stuff. But what you will notice is that each one of these individuals in this room, there were some similarities in songs, but the mixes were totally different. You just heard Marley. You heard Marley with Magic. You heard Red. Now we're going to take a listen to Chuck Chillout on 98.7 KISS FM. Thanks a lot for being a part of this panel, man. Appreciate you.
No problem, great one.
All right, now.
It's DJ Chuck Chillout, and I'm live. You understand?
Lipper, Chuck the beat kicker. Don't touch the dial, don't put on the literature. We ain't sore, we're hardest of the hardcore. I'm centipede, don't wanna talk no more.
You know what's so funny about back in the day?
What was that, Marley?
It was like Friday night you was on and Saturday night you was on. That's how it used to go.
Yeah.
You had like a little harder style.
Yeah, I was
a little rougher and a little, it was like your songs that used to play.
Yeah,
like,
he was
and he was cutting hard too.
Right.
Loud, real loud.
Yeah, you was the blend man.
No
you know
doubt.
What I mean?
And he had a lot of promos.
Right.
Promos. He would come
a
with
lot
promos
of
every week. He would come with new promos with the people that he was working with.
But my whole thing was I was more loud and noisier and played a lot of break beats.
Yeah. And then who Sammy B. Who did he used to fill in for you?
He fill in for me.
That's when there was problems for us, to be honest. Because we used to listen to Sammy. Like, Sammy was, he was a scratcher, a cutter. He was catching things fast, but y'all never let him on the air long enough. But he was a factor. Whenever Sammy B was filling in, that's when I used to like.
He had filled in that whole summer of '88.
Right, there you go.
He was on the road with Chris, right?
I was on the
there you
go.
Right. Whenever Sammy B was on filling in, that's when I used to really, really, really step my game up because he was a scratcher, a cutter. Mm-hmm. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't rough.
That was like battling an NBA team would bring somebody off the bench that you didn't know about.
Magic anyway.
No, let me tell you, I believe y'all never beat us one book. One book.
Yo, all the time.
Nah, are you crazy? Let's go back to the video.
No more rap shows. All you
gotta do is pull up the arbitrage rating. That's all. Yeah, I think y'all beat us one time. It was a big issue. They was like, they beat you one time.
The beauty in all of this is where it went. And where it went was a radio station out in Frisco called Camel. Became all rap. Wow. Keith Napoli, who was A&R guy,
K-Day was first.
Well, K-Day was AM.
AM, but that was the first 20.
K-Day was 24.
Well, Lady B was first.
Well, did you
She
want
was
to do that?
WHAT. It was
AM,
AM, so she was first.
K-Day was like 81.
When I got to Philadelphia in 1982, Lady B was on WHAT with the rap show.
With that dude Craig Mack?
On Saturday.
Yeah, Craig Mack, yeah.
But on the FM, on terrestrial radio, on a major station, Camel, KMEL, went straight up hip hop. Then not KYS. It was
PGC.
PGC.
So that was before
Hot 97.
K then on.
That's why Hot
PGC
97.
went, and then for this market, Hot 97. Hot 97 went all hip hop.
So you trying to tell me the AM 24 hour didn't matter? That's what you saying?
It mattered, but it didn't really make the impact. That
Well, you know why it didn't make the impact?
I just
Because you
remember going dead.
Yeah, but they
play rap 24/7.
That fact being, it mattered, but people didn't really hear the station. That's why the station was.
You know what?
People couldn't
What I
really hear
think
KD
it
all
was-
over. all
K-Day
of our
was
time.
affected more in that coast,
Right.
on that side of town.
Yeah,
But people did not know too much about the station outside of that
And the
region.
sound, remember, they was
That's
AM.
what it was.
And
It was
yeah,
AM.
I just
you couldn't hear
remember-
them. You couldn't hear them in the valley.
I just remember hanging out with evil.
And you know what? The way it was played meant a lot too.
Yeah, but it was
All right.
It was
the
my,
way
my
you
version
played,
of
Red
24
played,
hours.
Marley played. It was something to that, to where it was introduced. You know, as opposed to just playing rap records like regular radio. It didn't. And K-Day had a problem, and so WHT. They were AM in the FM era.
Yeah, FM was coming. Now here at WBLS, I'm here now. You leave 98.7 Kiss FM, and along with you comes Funkmaster Flex. And you were on the road with you and the Cool Chip. And Flex would sit in for. I tried to use a couple of people. I tried about two or three other people.
It was nervous.
It didn't work. And then Flex was still hanging around, so Flex said, "Let me get a shot." So I was like, "Go ahead, let me see what you can do." And then this is when I get in the car. I'm riding around all night, 2 and 3 in the morning. And Flex was on, killing it, playing his drops and doing all the acts. I was like, "Yo, that's the one." And that's how Flex actually became the one for us to sit in view. But you, Marley, had Clark Kent on.
Yeah.
You had
Waterhead
Kev.
It was Waterhead Kev. It was
Why you
Kev.
calling him Waterhead
And,
Kev? He had a big head.
it was Kevin Clark at first.
Right.
And Kev got into an accident. And then I remember Heavy D's cousin that was at my house scratching on the record. I said, "Yo, tell your cousin to come to the radio station. I got a job for him on WBLS." And he came. He didn't have much records. All he had was break beats. And what he would do is play those break beats for like 40 minutes at a time. And for some reason, he got so famous so quick. That was Pete Rock.
Pete Rock.
DJ Pete Rock. He got so
Shout out to
famous
DJ.
so quick. Quicker than, like, I put in work for years. And at that point, I didn't want to DJ anymore. I had enough. I was Magic's DJ
you
for-
had done. You
for
had
about
the
7,
album out.
8 years.
The In Control album was out.
Right. And
he
I'm
was
like-
on there on the jet plane.
Right. So I was like, I don't want to DJ on the radio no more. So I started having all these DJs come. But then, you know, throughout the years and years, I got back into DJing on the radio. But that was at a point where I was done. I was like, I'm not going to.
After a while, what happened? You stopped hearing the music? Did it get to the point where you stopped hearing the music, or you stopped feeling this cutting the records?
I just felt that I didn't want to DJ on the radio no more. It was like done for me. I was like DJing every, Friday and Saturday. Then they had me on every day.
But here's what happened. Magic leaves the
One
station.
time you should do
Well,
the
let me
12
just
o'clock
say
mix.
something real quick. Right. Like Marley said earlier, him and Magic didn't get along at first. When
Right.
that came back.
Right.
And I was always the glue while I was there. I keep this one, talk
you
to this
went
one,
away
talk
with
to
the
that
label.
one. Right. Warfield called me in his office one day. Ty, you can't work at the station and own a record company too. You're putting records on the radio. I'm getting problems. I'm hearing this. Everybody's complaining. They say Magic shows the cold chilling hour. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, but we play everybody's records. Anyway, they made me leave.
Y'all got that because you used to tell me I played all the Def Jam records.
No, you did.
Y'all called it. I was like, but y'all play all your records on the weekends.
No.
So I gotta open it
We
up.
play everybody.
I gotta open it up for the weekends for everybody. I gotta open it up for everybody else. So all y'all play with your joints on the
That was a
weekend.
thought like a motherfucker.
So I had to open it up for everybody during the week.
Well, our records wasn't records yet. They was
How you doing,
promos.
Todd?
See?
Todd.
First of all, like we play everybody
I'll
records.
be saying,
We play everybody records. Y'all never played our records.
Who?
Kiss never played
I
our
played
records.
your joints, bro.
Come on, man.
You gonna tell me I never play your records?
I'm not talking about
played
you. I'm talking
your
about during the
joints.
day.
What you talking about?
Oh, no, I'm talking about Joe.
You talking about during the day?
During the day.
Oh,
Kiss,
no.
our records didn't play. Only Nobody Beats the Bears till Bad Time Bad came out.
Magic leaves the station, and Marley now is gonna be the guy.
Right.
I tell Marley, this is your show. You do what you gotta do.
Got to crack the mic.
Marley don't want to crack the mic at all. I leave the station at 6 that night. Show goes on at 8. just music playing. So I get to the little club I used to hang out at after night to go get my little drink on. And I called from the phone. I didn't have no cell phone. I called the phone. Yo, man, why don't you talk? Okay, I'm going to talk right now. Marley, crack the mic. It's Marley in control. Real quiet. But it didn't take long for him to get used to cracking that mic, though. Right. And you were just getting the taste back to being on that. This was you coming back after that timeout.
I think that might have been something for a lot of DJs at that time. All right, who were just DJing in clubs or DJing, they weren't talking.
Yeah, he made me talk.
Right, I can imagine because they were used to playing records.
Right.
You know?
They didn't want the DJ to talk, and I could never understand that because in Philadelphia, the way we were doing it in Philly was that if you're a DJ, then people want to know what you're playing, but they want to know you.
Right.
And it just didn't seem fair to me that I'm on with this guy. And I'm not playing his songs, but this is voiceless individual, so it was very important.
I want to go back to who was the jock on when you first started? Was it Bobby Gale?
Jerry Young.
Right. Well, his voice didn't match what Red was doing.
Jerry Young. Jerry Young sounded good. Jerry Young sounded.
It took a while for him to get in.
No, it didn't match because see at the particular time I can admit this in respect. Here it is. Your father had a very distinctive voice. That stand out amongst everybody. So you gotta have some, and here it is coming in on the hip hop vibe, which would be edgy and everything. But the way how he came across it like developed into something else. So that's what he's talking about.
To cut you off, they had G Keith doing. He didn't sound right in here.
No, right, G Keith
didn't sound right.
Right.
When I left, man, come on.
But my point is before you. But my point is like.
Oh, was it? All right, Keith.
They didn't do anything to enhance. Not that they weren't good announcers, because they were good announcers. But they weren't for that.
It wasn't for that type of show.
Right. For that music.
Right.
It did the elements just
I was battling with Yvonne.
Right. Von Mobley. Wow. Von Mobley.
But that was a poignant time. And then that changed again, 1990, going into 91, because Frankie Crocker comes back. And he's not understanding any of these hip-hop songs playing on the radio. He's not understanding the fact Bell Biv DeVoe got low pro hole, should be cut like an afro.
Right.
So now it's another reset. And we're taking rap shows off. We're putting on slow music at 5 or 6 in the evening. As a matter of fact, if you saw the movie, what was the movie you was in? The Breaks? The Breaks. And that character in The Breaks, the white kid is actually myself and Frankie's kind of energy. I don't know whether the kid that did it knew about it, but that was our energy. I wanted to play the rap records. He wanted to slow it down with the.
Yeah, that was right.
But it still, hip hop still emerged with Hot 97 going all hip hop eventually in October of 1993.
But BLS created Hot 97 when Oliver said we wasn't playing no more rap.
No more rap.
That's what created Hot 97.
What year was it that people such as like Kid Capri, Ron G,
that happened.
Silver D,
That
even the
was
weekend one time,
that
that
happened in 91.
Right.
It happened in 91 after I left. Because we had.
When did Ed Love and them come?
Mike Love.
That's what I say. Ed Love and
91.
Mike Love was the P in there.
Right, Mike Love.
Because Chuck had left, and I was gonna bring them in to do that weekend show.
Mike Love was right before Frankie, right?
No, Mike Love came at the same time Frankie was there.
Right,
because
Frankie
they brought Tony Gray in as a consultant.
That was crazy. Frankie and Mike Love at the same time.
So what happened at the time? Chuck was gone, and I wanted to bring those guys in, but at that point I realized I wasn't staying. So I wasn't making anything happen that I wasn't staying with. So I just left it, and then I left, and so Mike continued the move that I was going to make.
And at this time, Magic is in Baltimore,
as
they had a couple nervous PDs after that.
Well, here's what happened. They had Ron G.
Woo!
You had Capri. You had Ron G.
Right.
And the thing was, they didn't know how to manage him.
Right.
Because they didn't understand the music. They were all over them about curse words in the records and everything else. These are things that you're supposed to work with before you put anybody on the radio.
Not only the music, but also the lifestyle.
Yeah, they didn't understand that. And as time went on, it got better, but it never really became what they wanted to be.
Ty, we had this guy screaming at us all the time.
I know that's
it wasn't screaming. It was just
now hold on. So now, Hot 97.
But we learned from you.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Hot 97.
As the years went on,
when that comes,
I understood what you was doing. As the years went on, I understood what you was doing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's something you would do now.
Yeah.
And what happened in between that, the WBLS went to no rap,
Yeah.
WBLS.
Yeah.
And you know what?
And-
That hyped hot.
Yeah,
and
Because they told the world, ain't no rapper here.
Oliver said he wasn't playing no
And
more.
and that was around the country. Most of those R&B stations, their promos said no rap at all.
My old station in Philadelphia.
If you remember, Ty, the whole hip hop world shifted.
The station that we started in Philadelphia that had rap on it, and we put Lady B on Sundays. They'd even started doing no rap Wednesdays. So you had that going on around the country because somehow, somewhere, they really felt that we could put an end to this rap movement. It was really an effort. Even the rock station in Chicago, when they blew up all the records, Steve Dahl, they really felt that rap was going to be over with. And those of us that were in the culture,
Not realizing that you had a couple of new generations that grew up on
But-
that.
but-
It's a demand.
But you know,
But
to
you
the
know, in all
advantage of it,
fairness-
the Turbine stations.
yeah, but
PGCs
we're
and them
we're
hots.
gonna get to that. In all fairness, those of us that was in the culture didn't know where it was going to go.
Right.
We knew that it was here for now, but we've seen Motown come and go. We saw Stax Records come and go. The funk was still strong there, but then we saw certain elements of that
Disco.
that was starting to come and go. And disco was about to be over with. That was when Steve Dahl killed disco movement in Chicago. And the top 40 stations, the CHR stations, were starting to have a problem with their music because the music wasn't cool anymore for the kids. The white kids were starting to listen to
Yes.
hip hop music around the
Yes.
country. That's
Yes.
why Public Enemy was selling the records they were selling. That's why all the rap groups that had music out were selling what they were selling. The Cold Chillin' team was selling what they were selling. NWA was selling millions of records, and not just with black sales, with that Middle America sales that was happening.
When I was saying, when we were going around the country doing radio, all right, most of those stations were churban stations,
Right.
contemporary hit radio. And contemporary hit radio was fading out because they were like Hall & Oates, Lord Branigan, that type of stuff. And the sound had changed. And most of the stations we went to, at the time, I thought it was fly. They were automated. Automated meant they couldn't pay jocks. So it would be taped. So they would have a live, maybe live in the morning after that was automated. Hip hop brought them back. Put money back in the system, you know. And I remember when I went to Hot 97, all right, and Bugsy could tell you this, I was with Steve Smith hanging out with him every day for a couple of years, and he didn't know I owned Cold Chillin'. Now, it wasn't like I was trying to hide it from him, but I understood. No, not true. Not true. I understood that when you put records on, you don't need nobody bugging you by putting a record on every day. You know, and I learned that from Magic and Marley. They stopped wanting to put. You gotta talk to Ty. You gotta talk to Ty. It became a headache for people always saying you want to put a record on. So I understood the whole coming from radio. Steve being with me, I was there straight up because I loved radio. This is what we gotta do. I never ever asked Steve to put a record on because I know we got a staff and they better get the record.
by now, Magic was doing the Sunday show, right?
Right, by now he's doing the Sunday show. How Steve finds out. It's a Christmas party. We're on the elevator. Somebody says something funny. And Bugsy says, wow, I haven't heard this since I worked for you, Ty. And Steve said, work for Ty? When you work for Ty? Bugsy said, the whole elevator looked, Bugsy said, Cold Chillin'. He said, Cold Chillin'? What you do with Ty? At Cold Chillin', Ty? And the whole elevator just looked at him. You know, because he's hanging with me all this time and never knew. And then after they said, why'd you never tell me that? I said, because I just didn't want you.
You're infringing his friendship.
Yeah, that's exactly. We was cool. You know what I'm saying? His son stayed at my house, my kids stayed at his house. We was cool like that.
It brought a new era. And when Hot started doing it in New York City, it opened up the floodgates around the country for hip hop on the radio.
But let me say about Steve Smith again. What I liked about Steve Smith, the best thing about Steve was he knew that he didn't know. So anybody brought something to him that
He was willing to learn.
willing to learn, exactly. Very willing to learn, you know. And so if you came to him with something that he didn't know, now he might check it for a couple of times, ask a couple other people. But he went. And another thing about Steve that was different than inner city. Inner city, if you had an idea, if they went along with it, they would have to.
Right.
Steve.
Go full blast.
Full blast.
And there's no knock on the people at WBLS. It was just that it's, as I said earlier, it's about vision. No one really envisioned this music, this genre to become what it became. at that time. Everybody thought it was going to go away. It's cool now, but it's going to be like that little matchup record that people would do. Hey, tell me what you're going to do next. And then they played an instrumental, they played a vocal for it. They thought it was going to go away. But the more people tried to suppress the rhymes, the bigger it got. It's even happening now. The more you try to suppress certain songs, the bigger they become. We just witnessed this with the Lil Nas X record. They didn't want it on the country western chart. They went and got Billy Ray Cyrus on it,
but the rap
and it's out of here now.
Right.
You know, so,
And you could talk about how Ricky Walker from Atlanta came and took hip hop rap from skating rinks to 20,000 seat venues. All right, and the reason that Fresh Fest sold out like it did,
The first major rap concert.
exactly because people around the country couldn't hear it. They could get the records on tapes or whatever, but it wasn't consistently in their
see it live
market.
like that.
So when it came to town,
that was the talk of the town.
that was the talk of the town. Talk of the town.
guys, I really appreciate you guys coming out today. WBLS 45. We're doing it for Black Music Month 2019 and forever. We trust that this genre continues to grow. Where we are, how all our paths have come together from working at various radio stations, 98.7 KISS FM to WBLS, and WBLS being owned by MS Broadcasting that started hip hop at Hot 97, and 98.7 KISS FM being owned by MS Broadcasting that started Hot 97. It's indicative of what I always say, that you work with the same 12 people, some of the same 12 people, over and over and over again, as long as you're lucky enough to be alive in this culture. Lucky Rivas, appreciate you coming to represent your dad.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool DJ Red Alert, thank you so much.
Respect.
And thank you so much for all the lessons that you've taught me throughout the years and that I continue to learn. And the same holds true for you, Marl. Thank you so much for all the early lessons in the game. Chuck Chillout, thank you so much for everything that you've done in the game and continue to do. You can listen to him here on 107.5 WBLS as well. And Fly Ty, thanks for giving me one of my first record jobs in the game and our continued connections and everything else. We appreciate you so much. And thanks a lot to the WBLS team and our interactive and our entire squad here, man, that continues to move the culture forward at MS Broadcasting.